It's Thursday, so you know what that means. But even before I do any intro, happy birthday to our very own Ty Richardson joining the Hog Roundup right now. Ty, thanks for hopping on as always. Like I said, happy birthday, man. We're happy that you're here doing Hog Roundup on your birthday.
Thanks, Evan. Hopefully, the Razorbacks deliver us a 2-day late birthday present in Dallas, Texas to get a little revenge. Carter and the guys sounds like they're pretty fired up to knock Texas Tech out of American Airlines Arena since they sent them home in the Chase Center last year.
Yeah, we'll have plenty on depth in that coming up on this episode. Obviously, you already heard it there. We're going to talk plenty Texas Tech and kind of what's going on with Arkansas basketball right now. 7-2 on the season. It's a good time. We'll also talk about some football, as always. Ryan Silverfield staff coming into shape. Some Hunter Yurachek, as well as his, it seems like internet war with some Notre Dame fans, which is really fun. College football playoff and some other stuff we find. But Ty, let's dive right into it. Let's start with this basketball matchup. Like you've already kind of alluded to, it's a Sweet 16 rematch from last year where Arkansas had a 16-point lead in that game, and they ended up falling in overtime to Texas Tech. But here's a different team. It's a different year. It's the same year, but it's a different season. What do you make of this upcoming matchup in Dallas?
I'm excited about it. You got Anderson and Toppin back for the Red Raiders, two key pieces off last year's teams. Not the only one, but just thinking about what this is in a sense, and it's an old Southwest Conference rivalry. You got to remember this game's been played, I think, 80 plus times, if I remember that right from the game notes. This is going to be a fun battle, just like it was last year. I actually expect the Razorbacks to come out with a vengeance. I think they're going to win this game by double digits, to be perfectly honest. I could be proven wrong, but I think it's going to hover right around 10 or 11 points, and Arkansas pulls away. They need that neutral site win because North Little Rock doesn't count. Let's be honest. That's not a neutral site venue. It's listed as that, but it's not. So get this win in Dallas against what I would guess is probably going to be 60-40 Arkansas fans, even with Lubbock not too far. You know how crazy Arkansas fans are in Dallas? There's tons of them. So I think you're going to see a great turnout tomorrow, or excuse me, on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm really curious because, again, Lubbock's about 5 or so hours from Dallas, so turnout's always something that we like to keep an eye on. I was at the game last year when it was in Dallas, but that time they faced Baylor, which I think Waco's a little closer to Dallas than Lubbock is. And that was still, close to 60-40 Baylor, so I think it could be flipped in Arkansas's favor this time, in my opinion. Yeah, what do you got?
Well, I just think it's funny. You said it's about 5 hours from Dallas. Think about that. So Fayetteville is equidistant to Dallas as Lubbock is. That's how crazy crazy west and really south Lubbock is. It's wild to me.
Shows you how big Texas is. I didn't really realize it, too. It feels like, and I don't know the geography that well of Texas. Obviously, we live in Arkansas, so I know Arkansas geography after being here for a couple of years, but geography, not my strong suit, even though I'm good at the states, but no one wants to hear us talk about where states are. They want to hear about this basketball game. But you mentioned Carter Knox earlier. He spoke to media this morning, and I think it is Carter's personality where he's very kind of mellow, doesn't really get too excited or whatnot. But it seems like he wants vengeance for this game, and this whole team wants to avenge the loss from last season.
Well, Darius kind of said something in addition to that. It's like, I want it for these guys. Carter, just a true sophomore, had an awesome game against the Red Raiders last year, really turned it on the NCAA tournament, but it ultimately ended with Arkansas not finishing. And that sticks in your craw. True freshman kid coming back for sophomore season, sees the team in front of him. Cal talked about it in his coach's show this week. Usually doesn't watch the last game of the season, but he had to in order to scout. So I think this is a fun game for the Southwest Conference storylines, the revenge storylines, and it's just a good college basketball game between two top 20 teams. That's another element you have to like if you're not even a Red Raiders or Razorback fan.
Yeah, Texas Tech ranked 17 right now, Arkansas ranked 16, so they're very evenly matched. I think for me, and I'm curious where your head is at this, I think it's going to come down to, you've already alluded to, Anderson and Toppin versus kind of the two-man game that TB and Darius Acuff run, or maybe it's, DJ Wagner instead of Acuff. But I think whatever two-man wins in that battle in this game is going to ultimately end up winning. Curious what your kind of thoughts are of that kind of two-man game Texas Tech runs versus Arkansas's two-man game that seems to be emerging with TB and Darius Acuff.
Yeah, I like that matchup. It's just fun to watch, or will be, I should say. TB played really good against Duke, didn't have a great showing against Michigan State. What kind of showing did, and even better against Louisville. I thought he was really outstanding against Louisville. What kind of Trevin Brazil is going to show up? Trevin has all the capability of the world to change the basketball game, and we've seen it. The thing about TB that I've noticed is he's a fifth-year guy, right? If he knocks down his first or second three-pointer, it opens up his entire game. And I'm not just talking about driving and being aggressive on offense. He plays better defensively. He has this just different mentality on both ends of the floor. It is so essential for Darius Acup, DJ Wagner, basically whoever's having the ball. When you're driving and you see a wide open TB at the start of the game, kick it to him. Because if he gets that open look, more often than not, he's going to knock it down. That is going to dictate the rest of his game moving forward, Ev. So I can't wait to watch, hopefully, a high-octane offense for Arkansas and a Trevin Brazil that's on his A game come Saturday.
Do you think that's like a weird confidence thing where, and I know, even you can relate it to us playing out in the golf course. Like if I hit a good shot early or have an early birdie on the first 3 holes, I know that sets the tone for me for the rest of the day. How important do you think that early shot is for TB? Because I think you're right in that point of like, hey, when we've seen him get going, it's because he makes a big shot early in the game to get into rhythm really soon. Otherwise, he kind of flounders, and we see what we saw against Fresno State in that Trevin Brazil.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. I mean, you mentioned golf. That's a great example that both of us play each and every week. I think I haven't played pickup basketball in a while, but I know for me, like if I don't knock down my first shot, I'm passing the ball the rest of the time that we're playing, at least in that game. So I think a lot of it just depends on the mindset of the kid or whoever's in there. And I just for Arkansas to get to Indianapolis, Indiana, which is where they're trying to wind up in the Final Four to take on whoever, Trevin Brazil has to be maybe the second best player in your team. Really, like because I don't think Evan, I don't know if I told you this stat. It hasn't been since 2015 that a freshman has led his team in scoring in the 1 or 2 spot. And that was Jahlil Okafor back for the Duke Blue Devils back in 2015 to win the national championship. So if Arkansas is not just trying to get to the Final Four, but win, you've got to have either Carter Knox or Trevin Brazil be really that secondary guy, at least based on the past decade of history. And I hope it's proven wrong this year if Malik and Darius end up being your leading scorers. I just don't know if that's the formula to get to Indianapolis, Indiana, and Lucas Oil Stadium.
I know there's been a lot made over the last couple of years of how college basketball teams are being built different. A lot of these freshmen now are going everywhere, and you don't see a true freshman team be able to go on and go forward. And like Cal said, some of the guys in NIL are paying for their wife's alimony after that Fresno State game. I thought that was a great line. So it's really interesting how the trend of college basketball is, and college football too, where you can build your core of what your identity of a team, and especially a young team, like what Ryan Silverfield's team's going to be. Cal last year, they had to build the identity, it felt like, through the transfer portal, and then add freshmen where they think could develop and become that core later on. So I think it's a really interesting time in the landscape of college athletics where you have to build not with freshmen. Yeah, you can accessorize with freshmen early on, but you really have to build quickly if you want to win with guys in the portal.
Well, think about last year in the national champion. So you've got Walter Clayton, who's played a lot of college basketball, and you've got some other guys around it. But then you've got, I think Condon was a freshman, if I remember that right. So you can, and Condon's a heck of a player. There's been multiple other teams over the years. Like Klingon was a freshman on that initial national champion UConn, and then he was the sophomore. He was the second year. That next year, you can have, as you said, talented stud freshmen, but they can't be the main piece. The other element that Arkansas is missing right now, if we're just going to get right down to it, is you don't have a dominant front court presence. Like Trevin Brazil is a really good four at times, but and I've liked what I've seen from Malik Ewan. I think Nick Pringle, people bash on him too much. Nick does a lot of things outside of just scoring the basketball that are needed for this team, but you don't have a Sonogo. You don't have a Klingon, as I mentioned. There's been a lot of like big guys. I forget the outstanding big man for Kansas that helped them win a national championship years ago. Like on the other side, North Carolina had Baycott. Like you just don't have that. Yeah. And so I wonder when Arkansas goes up against a bona fide 5, whether it's in the SEC here in a few weeks or the NCAA tournament, how do they counter that? Because I don't know if they have the capability as their current team is right now, unless something changes, which, listen, it's December basketball. A lot of things can change between now and March.
It's funny, Ty, you read my mind. That's exactly where I was going to go. The front court for this Arkansas team is so inconsistent. How do you find consistency with those three guys? And Pringle, maybe not so much TB because he is really more of a wing rather than a forward, but Pringle and Ewan, how do you find consistency if you're John Calipari?
Well, I think it's motivating. Malik Ewan, what he said, he pulled out the Louisville. It's like, look what you did last year. Why aren't you the same guy? And I think Malik, when you watch him, he might be the first or second best passer on the team. I mean, he's got really good court vision. And anytime you have that on a big man, you're like, whoa, I don't know if he grew up playing guard and then he just sprouted up or what, but I've noted, and I think Cal's talked about it. So it's motivation. And again, Pringle's not going to give you 15 and 10. That's just not his game. But he's going to be in the right spot defensively. He's going to be the one talking. He's in his fifth year of college basketball. Wofford, JUCO, Alabama, South Carolina, now in Fayetteville. It's been through the wars, been to a Final Four. So I think it's, when you talk about the scoring output, it's definitely coming for Malik Ewan, but there's going to be a lot of intangibles that Nick Pringle brings. But again, I just don't know if either of those guys are capable of stopping a really, really good college basketball center, which at some point in time, you're going to play here in the coming season.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of these teams coming up again in the SEC, it feels like the SEC as a whole, it's a little bit weaker than it was last year. You've got Alabama, who's ranked higher than Arkansas, and Vanderbilt, who's ranked higher. But other than that, maybe the ceiling of the SEC isn't to what it was last year. Florida hasn't looked great this year. Auburn's kind of in this weird transition year from Bruce Pearl to Stephen Pearl. So, and then, like I've already mentioned, you have Vanderbilt, who all of a sudden is like, oh man, this is looking like one of the better teams in the SEC, where maybe they were going to be in the middle of the pack. So there's opportunity for sure. And I think what's really surprising is Kentucky and how bad they've been, but we can get into that in a second. The last thing as we round out this Texas Tech preview part of the show, DJ Wagner, what do you want to see out of him this weekend? Because there was an article that came out, I believe it was Hogs Illustrated, talking about how DJ has to be patient. At what point can you still be patient if you're DJ Wagner? Like how much patience can you give this guy who's in year 3 and is really now in a 6th or 7th man role for the Hogs?
DJ's Cal's Swiss Army knife. You think about what he had to endure last season, taking over that starting point guard role, his freshman year at Kentucky, which was injury riddled. I mean, this is a kid that was at one point in time the number 1 rated combo guard or / point guard, I can't remember, in the country. And now he's a junior. And the expectation was he's going to be a one and done. Well, he's not. I take DJ Wagner on my team any day of the week. That kid busts his butt defensively. He can occasionally knock down a 3-point shot, and he's going to drive. The thing about DJ is even when he's missing shots, a lot of time the secondary defender comes over, and that leaves for a Malik Ewan dunk, a Nick Pringle putback, a Trevin Brazil alley-oop. So there are things that DJ, kind of like Nick Pringle does. He doesn't necessarily, you're not going to like, man, 25 from DJ. Wow. Right. Like, I think he's capable, but he's also, the other element for him is he's humble enough to take a backseat to 2 freshmen and Carter and Trevin at times. DJ doesn't scream to me as I need the ball. I want this. I want that. He seems to be a guy that you want on your basketball team from a leadership standpoint, talking in press conferences. I can't say enough good. Listen, he's never going to be the best scorer on the team. I don't think that's his game, but I love DJ Wagner, what he is for this Arkansas basketball team.
It's funny because every time we talk to DJ and get an opportunity to, he always, blows me away of just how well put together he is, how well spoken he is. Of anytime I remember going up to him in the locker room last year after the SEC tournament and be like, hey man, you got a couple minutes? Like, you could tell everyone was mad. Trevin Brazil didn't even want to talk to me, but I got to do a job to do. I got to go talk to these guys. And I thought that he carried himself really well after that loss and was looking forward to the NCAA tournament. So DJ, again, I think maybe he won't, to your point, impact the stat sheet every night. But again, what NBA scouts want to see if you want to get drafted this year is more than just what numbers are you putting up. Because to your point, Malik Thomas and Darius Acuff, they're always going to put up those big numbers because they are the scorers. Malik Thomas hunts shots. We've seen it over and over again. DJ Wagner is that effort all-around player, and I think that's really interesting. Ty, before we go to a quick break, let's talk big picture SEC right now. What surprised you so far with SEC basketball as we're about 20 or so days away from the start of conference play?
I knew Florida would take a step back. Didn't know it would be to this degree. I think Vanderbilt being undefeated, At least I think they are. It's I saw their record the other day. I don't think I'm misspeaking on that. Bama's just it's been transformative what Nate Oates has done, and I don't like Nate Oates. I don't like that Alabama basketball is good, but the fact that I feel like I'm saying every other year the best team in the SEC is the Alabama Crimson Tide is pretty remarkable. He's had some outstanding players. That LeBaire, if I could say it, LeBarian Philon kid is unreal. Yeah. Playing like an All-American this year. I know they're glad to have him back from injury. So I think those topics are, and Kentucky, maybe here's the biggest headline. Kentucky being as bad as they are. You mentioned that a little bit earlier. I mean, this is supposedly a $20 million roster. They're not good right now. Pope's getting chewed out by his own fan base. The raucous boos the other day. I hope when they come into Bud Walton Arena, they get trounced by 30. And that would just be just the reviews on Kentucky Sports Radio and other message boards in Lexington would be just wonderful to see if the Wildcats came into Fayetteville and got housed.
Oh, man. I love the Arkansas-Kentucky rivalry in basketball that is now a thing because of John Calipari coming over. There's nothing better. But, Ty, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll head to the gridiron and talk a little bit about Ryan Silverfield and the college football playoff that's coming up on Hog Roundup when we return. Back here on the Hog Roundup, Evan Kamiko joined alongside ESPN Arkansas's Ty Richardson. Ty is in a festive mood today. I love the ugly Christmas sweater we got on. Maybe we'll do something Christmas to round out the show. But let's talk a little bit about football. Ryan Silverfield's staff continues to come together. It looks like he's now got a GM. Some of the more, coaching staff positions have been filled. What's kind of your impressions so far as we're about a week post the Ryan Silverfield introductory press conference? And again, Caden Kittler's now coming back, and it feels like we're getting closer and closer to a full staff here on the Hill for the head Hawk.
Latest report is Darren Wilson's coming back to Fayetteville after being in Arkansas and then being in Gainesville this last year. I think I don't know if this is being fair to the coaching staff that he's reportedly hired, but it's just how fans feel that it has been an underwhelming hiring process. Yeah. Thus far, in terms of the name brand alone. I want to be clear about that because, listen, a lot of these guys don't know their backgrounds, don't know their stories, don't know a lick about them as football coaches. But I'll just parallel it with an example. Tennessee, and I haven't seen if this has been finalized or yet, but the Jim Knowles from Penn State and Ohio State, that would have been like, whoa, like one of the best defensive coordinators in all of college football. That is a that is a true example of, hey, we've got money. We're wielding it. Here it is. Ron Roberts and a couple guys have SEC experience, but it's not necessarily like the wow factor that we were at least presented last Thursday, a week from today, last week. So, again, it's December 11th, so it's unfair for me to make just a harsh, rash judgment on what this coaching staff will look like coming up. Hopefully, they'll get some players. That's when you can actually say, oh, okay, the money's been infused. Yeah. Hopefully there'll be some names that come into fame and like, oh, okay, let's go.
Yeah, and I think that's a really fair sentiment because, again, we talked about it last week of hey, who are they going to hire? What are some of these names coming in? So, and again, it's way too early, right? You can say all you want about some of these coaches of oh, well, we saw what Arkansas secondary was when Duran was here the last time, and it was a lot better than it has been the last 2 years, let's be honest. But, again, it's not the names that, you were almost, I wouldn't say guaranteed, but expected to maybe hear. The excitement level maybe isn't there of what you initially thought it was going to be a week ago when Silverfield's in there. And, look, he had to sell himself to the fan base, and that was maybe to get fans' expectations a little too high because – in reality, in college football right now, if you're a new hire, you need to win in year one. There is no more, you're going to have time to build a program. I know, the Kurt Signetti example, we say that over and over again. At least I do, because I love bringing that example up as an Indiana fan. But we always talk about it. And, Sharon Moore, a lot of stuff went on off the field as to why he got fired. But on the field, it was trending that direction anyway, and he took over for a program that won the national championship. So, to your point, you need to generate excitement fast, and I don't necessarily – I agree with you. I don't know if Silverfield lived up to his promise.
Yeah, and again, season hasn't started yet. If they go to Utah and Salt Lake City and win that game, everyone's like, all right, we'll see what happens at SEC play, but we're a long way off.
Yeah, football season a long time away. But hey, before we go to one more break and wrap up on the Hog Roundup, we got to talk about this because it does involve Arkansas. A lot of Notre Dame fans are very mad they didn't get accepted into the college football playoff. And are starting to, especially some of the big name donors there, are starting to blame Hunter Yurachek, who's the college football selection committee chair, because Notre Dame came into here and blew the brakes off of Arkansas back in September. And now they're saying this is payback for Notre Dame winning Arkansas Super Bowl. Do you buy it? Do you sell it? Where's your head at with that?
Oh, I sell that. That wasn't intentional on his part. He's doing what he's being dictated to do. It is funny, though, to see so many people mad because you got these other Arkansas fans who are like, no, you see why we don't like it, blah, blah, blah. And one has nothing to do with the other. But it has been an entertaining last few weeks in the college football playoff selection show.
Do you agree that it should be Miami over Notre Dame?
Yeah, they won the head-to-head. Like when I know that Notre Dame, their AD, Pete something was like, we had one of the most 10 dominant games in college football history. This includes victories over the Razorbacks, a bad Stanford team, a bad Boston College team. It'd be different if he said that about the Southeastern Conference and they ran through 10 SEC opponents and won them all. But they didn't. They played like 5 bad teams and 5 bad teams, 2 ranked teams in Pitt and USC, and I'm forgetting the other one. So to me, I don't buy it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just find it funny that Yurachek is getting the slack over this, and he's just sitting there like, yeah, guys, I just come on TV and talk to everybody about the decisions in the room. And rightfully so. You get why Notre Dame fans are mad. But it is just funny to me. And again, like we can talk all we want about Texas A&M. I think they're going to be that fraud team that Miami ends up beating because, again, you look at it, yeah, they beat Notre Dame, but at the end of the day, they didn't beat any team in the top half of the SEC. So it's really interesting to see, maybe their last year's Indiana per se of like, hey, they made it because they have a great record, but who do they truly beat? Who do they truly beat? So it's all fun.
It's all fun and games. And I know every fan base every year is going to be ticked off about something. It was that way pre-BCS. It was that way during the BCS. It was that way in the 4 team. It's that way in the 12 team. And it'll be that way in the 16 team when they eventually go to it.
Exactly. But Ty, we're going to take one more quick break. We'll wrap up on Hog Roundup just in a moment. A big thanks, as always, to Ty Richardson for joining the show every week. That's going to do it for Hog Roundup. For Ty Richardson, I'm Evan Camico. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know what we missed every week, what you think of the show, what you want to see moving forward on Hog Roundup. The holidays are coming up. We'll make some adjustments to the show in the New Year's and be back. As always, we'll be back next week, weekly episodes. You already know the drill. Hog Roundup ain't going anywhere. But what do you want to see? The show is dictated for you at home. It's your Hog Roundup with me and Ty, so let us know what you want in the comments. Let us know what you want us to improve on for 2026 and beyond. As always, it's fun doing it with Ty, fun doing it with all of you, fun doing it for all of you. But that's going to do it for this week's episode. We'll talk to you real soon.